Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Warrant and Finance Committee meeting for April 3rd, 2023. The first thing on the agenda is pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We won't be taking any votes tonight, so I guess
Oh, you've moved seats.
Just to get out of the way.
Speakers can,
get out of the way. So I guess we.
So I'm gonna
really
move
don't-
too?
that's Charlie.
Oh,
gets
Charlie's,
it,
yeah, okay.
We're not much sure if he's coming. I didn't hear anything different, but
Leslie's not coming?
Leslie's,
sometimes. Leslie's not, no.
Okay.
she's on vacation.
But we won't be taking any votes tonight, so, other than just the minutes.
Sure.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for March 27th?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor? I'm going to, the agenda tonight, I'm gonna move the old business after the new business because, in respect for the people that came to talk to us tonight, they don't need to listen to me ranting and raving about the old business, so. So the first thing is, the cemetery committee. You wanna come up and sit at the table, Jim? I assume that's why you're here? Can't blame him. I'm not really a huge attraction for everybody who wanna come here and talk to you. You're used to me, so I guess probably
Yeah, that's
that's why
true.
you're the designated person.
We know each other. In the folder there,
I know, Jim, this year, the cemetery committee normally, I think last year asked for $3,000. And I know this year, you're asking for 10.
because we're doing some work.
Yeah, could you tell us what that word's gonna be, Jim?
Yeah, well, first of all, up top here, you see these 6 cemeteries listed on the top?
Yep,
Those are the ones that they were left in a trust, and the only money allowed to be spent was the interest off of that trust, and it was originally 10,000, whatever it was,
That's combined with all of it, right, Jim? That
Yeah.
10,000?
right here. And the interest over on the right is available is $9,174.76, but it can only be used on these 6 cemeteries here. That's how the trust was set up.
Different dollar amount for each one, right?
I have to get the warrant article. I'm trying to find that, the original warrant article. I don't know, it's gotta be way back, though.
Yeah, it does. It is, Jim, and it's different amounts as
Yeah.
each cemetery.
Yeah, I was wondering, so.
Yeah.
To try to do anything, this hasn't been used. The town is making 16 cents a month on interest. So that lets you, if you see the $9,000 figure, how long has this been sitting when no one's known how to access it, you know? But I'm gonna research and go back and find that
Yeah.
warrant article to see exactly how it can be spent, you know? But it only affects these 6 right here,
Okay.
okay?
Can I give you a little bit, Jim?
Yeah,
Part of the mowing contract we have every year, for many years, that these half a dozen cemeteries you're talking about, is part of that mowing contract. Because where it's in a trust, the town has to maintain these cemeteries. So that has been, it's come and gone depending on who's around, but the town is supposed to be maintaining these cemeteries. And out of the money that's allocated, whatever it is, you know, don't really know the financial end of it, but that's the town's responsibility to take care of those.
and I have a list here. I didn't get this till late from Steve. Steve and Kinney are both Marines,
Yeah,
and they find some kind of peace in this committee, you know what I mean? They're the ones who, all day, Saturdays and Sundays, their own time, they're up clearing these, they get all the brush out of a lot of them, you know? But I don't have, if I could have this printed, it would be great, I could show everybody, but it's just, this is their long-term plan, the cemeteries right here, it's 25 of them. There's like 80 in town, believe it or not, it's something ridiculous, they're everywhere. But these are the big ones that can get access to and, you know.
Hey, can I see that? Jim?
Yeah. Right here.
Just pass
If you
it
could
down.
get everyone a copy of that, that would be great.
Sure.
Dennis. And then
Is that
with this-
80, like, including, like, just small family plots, or is that,
It's a mix of everything.
oh, wow.
The first time I ever went out, I went out there with your mother and Olive Treadwell. My kids at the time, I was thinking about it today, they were 4 and 6. They're 30 and 28 now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if it was you they called, but we went out to put flags and holders. Remember, all of us in her 70s at that time, your mother was too.
yeah.
But we went out there to put flags on the cemeteries. They did that every year. It was with the Girl Scouts, I think, or 4-Hers.
4-H.
And we got, the first road we went down, I think, was Hebo Highbo. There's a cemetery down there. And instead of putting flags out all day, we were moving washing machines and tires, and,
Yeah.
you know, they totally lost. It was, but it was all a good stuff. But that's how my first experience.
Yeah.
But we went back the next day, and there was some cemeteries out behind Langley's, and
They're everywhere.
you never know, you know what I mean? To get out to them is a haul. So a lot of those aren't on that top 25 right now that they're gonna focus on. Here's the 10 that they wanted to do this year, right? And what they did was, outside of every one of them, if you can make copies, when you see this number, up here it says $200. The next one is the Gilman Cemetery, it's $1,000. That number out there, all that signifies is the stonework. Kenny's taking courses too. He's repairing a lot of them, like not last Friday, Friday night before. He texted the whole committee. He had a stone in his sink, working on it, and the base was scrubbing it. But he's taking classes how to put them back together, and, you know, the stones aren't all the same, so it's different epoxy, and, you know. So the prices vary with the ones he can fix, that Kenny's fixed. You'll see on this list here, you know, some of them are 200, but then if you buy a brand new one, like years ago when people were buried without a stone, their families couldn't afford them, I'm talking 100 years ago. There's 3 right up here at this cemetery. They're buying brand new stones for those people who never had stones, and those are $449 a piece, you know. They're doing a lot of good stuff, these guys. What they hope to do with these cemeteries is to get in there and get them to a point where you can actually mow them like it was meant to be in the beginning and take care of them, you know what I mean? But the trees have just taken over because it really, you know, it's a lot to ask for a committee to stay on top of something like this. I didn't realize till I started going out with these guys, you know.
It is a
That
lot,
one
yeah.
right up by Willie's Ale House there, that little cemetery, there's 30 trees in there.
Yeah,
Problem is their roots are pushing the stones up, and then the branches are falling and snapping them in half. I mean, what are the odds of getting hit by a branch? I mean, over 100 years, they're pretty good, you know what I mean? And that's what's going on. Then we have another one down I went down with these guys. It's a house off of French Street, the very end behind the church. We couldn't, there was a cemeteries in with the horses, and they could never get owner permission to go in there.
right.
It's switch hands, and the new young guy is whatever we want to do in there. So we went in and looked at those, and there's some veterans in there.
Yeah,
And some of those stones, because it was free with the horses, you know, one of them was laying on the ground, it had horse manure on it. I mean, horses don't know, you know what I mean? But they kick them over, but that one has granite posts all the way around. And the guy told us that however we could, without hurting his horses, we could use those posts and fence the cemetery back in again before we, you know, that's one of them on the list here, you know.
that cemetery you're talking about was a huge issue with the 2 women you were just talking about years ago when your children were little, because they wanted to be able to get in there because of the veterans' graves.
They couldn't get permission,
Right.
believe it or not,
Yeah,
believe it or not.
Jim, can I ask you a question? That's on private property.
Yeah.
Do we have some kind of a document saying you have permission, you know, or the
That's a
cemetery?
good question, but this young guy, we spent probably half a day with him.
Yeah.
He's a young contractor, very sharp guy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he couldn't have been, you know, whatever we want to do, he just wants us to let us know when we go in there,
Yeah.
so. But Steve gets permission from everybody. I don't know if it's a document. I don't know that, Joyce.
Yeah.
I'm pretty new to this committee, you know, so this is basically what I'm going to try to help them, just
Yeah.
Get through.
That's great.
stuff I had no idea about
Right.
this trust or anything like that, so.
Yeah.
But I'll
I
dig more
just-
into
I
that.
just wonder if, you know, CYA, if we had a
That's
document.
a good question. I didn't even think
Yeah.
about that. But he deals with all
Something you
that. Hmm.
can bring up and your committee can come up with one.
If I know him, I bet he does something. He's very, you know,
Crosses his Ts and
unbelievable.
dotted his
Unbelievable.
I.
So
Okay.
I'm guessing, but he gets to know the people before we go in there. It's
Yeah.
not like a phone call. He puts a lot of time into this, you know?
I think what Joyce is trying to do, and I know you agree with this, Jim, you've been involved for a long time, is the town doesn't own a cemetery,
Right.
okay? All these cemeteries are private in town. For liability purpose, I would ask that the cemetery committee ask the selectmen to have them sign a release, and it's on record, for liability purposes. I've got no issues with them doing, you know, what they wanna do, but I think
Basically protects us too.
protection, right.
Yeah, protecting is better than the term I used.
And when we have, like you said, close to 80, approximately 80 cemeteries in town,
There's some.
I know where there's a lot that haven't had anything done to them for probably 100 years.
Yeah, that's,
And as you said, my mother was involved in this, so I know a lot of history. But also kudos to the cemetery committee, because the outfit that my daughter-in-law works for, she's been working with Steve, is it?
Steve Perillo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of volunteer work where she works. And she's tied up with Steve, and now she has some cemeteries that organization is gonna come out and help the cemetery committee with.
These two guys are helping in other towns with certain type stones that they
Right.
can't figure out. Like there's one over in the campground off of, is it Jim Grant Road or Lebanon Road? What's that?
Lebanon Road, probably.
Yeah, up that way. And they have a really nice, it's probably 7 or 8 feet tall. It's really, but it's got all different colorations and mold and everything. And Kenny's gonna go over there and they just do it for nothing, you know?
Right,
It's a lot of work.
yeah.
A lot of work.
And this is what my daughter-in-law's doing with that. She does food pantries, they do all kinds of stuff. And the one that she's in charge of the volunteer program for Maine and New Hampshire now. And they plan on doing quite a bit to help the cemetery committee. I know that,
that's
the
awesome.
cemeteries.
We have, each one of us has rechargeable chainsaw, our own,
Yeah,
weed whackers and brush cutters, you know, like was it Cobalt? Big blue one, yeah. We have those, so a lot of them are way in off the road, you know, 40-volt batteries.
so after many years, kinda, I'm not saying the cemetery committee didn't do things, they always did a lot.
Yeah.
But it was always, the emphasis, it was always on the veterans' graves, okay? And we're supposed to maintain the veterans' graves by law, but that doesn't mean we're supposed to maintain this whole cemetery. And I think what this committee has done, what I've listened to anyway, watching the meetings and stuff, that they really grabbed the bull by the horns, and I think it's a great thing for Acton. I really do. The only thing that, I've always been a proponent, as you know, of this committee, and it stayed the same amount of money for a long time. It really hasn't changed.
And these guys really, they really work.
Right, and knowing the people, some of the people that you guys have hired and gonna hire, to do some of the work, they're nothing but professional people.
Yeah, that's good.
And, I think it's a great thing you guys do, and myself personally, I support this $10,000. I don't know what everybody else thinks. And the only thing I'd like to see, honestly, Jim, is some kind of a release or something,
I think it's a good idea.
so that if these people leave, and if we have it in writing,
Yeah.
it'd be something to fall back on, that's all.
There's a lot of them, not a lot, there's a few people, they take care of them themselves. They
Yeah.
don't want anyone, and
Yeah.
they're beautiful. There's other ones where you gotta travel a football field in through briars and everything
Or
else.
more,
Yeah.
and you find that skidders have run over them, and different things like that sometimes.
Do you want this one too, Ray? These are the 10.
Anybody have any more questions for Jim?
All is that is the,
Yeah,
all is that is a stone.
I wanted to ask what, okay, please.
And these 10 right here that you have are gonna be the ones that you
That's what we're gonna focus on.
this year.
Yeah, that's from Steve, Kenny, and Tracy.
Now, Kenny is the one that does the
Kenny,
restoration?
Yeah, he prepares them and cleans them, and,
Okay. And he does that on a volunteer
Yeah.
basis? He gets no
Yeah.
stipend, nothing
no,
in that?
he just does that on his own.
And all the monies that you have, that you're requesting the 10,000 for are gonna be for these 10?
Yeah, and they see the figure at each one.
Yeah.
All as that represents, they've already started on these. They've cleaned all the brushes on all these ones. They've gone after these. All is this number here to the right signifies is stonework. That doesn't say the tree work. All of them are gonna be somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 apiece for tree work. And this is the stonework right here. Some's higher than others because I'm guessing that these two right here are brand-new stones that never had a stone, you know what I mean? $1,000. These ones here, there's 4 of them. That tells me that Kenny's been working on those, doing that, you know what I mean? Repairing them. A lot of those lower ones, it's the work Kenny's doing, so.
He's been the one doing this for quite a while, though, Jim.
Yeah, quietly,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood. You said 10?
They have a list of 10
Oh,
cemeteries.
you have that?
Yeah.
they give me
I don't know
that
if you
right
have
now.
that
He couldn't print, he
You
got
want
that.
that?
Yeah, yeah.
You want this back, Jim?
No, I don't, if you can copy that.
I'll copy it,
Just
make
remember
sure.
the dollar figure only represents stonework
Yeah,
at the end.
I'll make sure they get it at our next meeting.
Jim, your expenses are $2,100. Is that for labor, or is that materials, or what is that?
Where is that, Joe?
$2,166.50 under expenses.
Operating budget?
Expenses.
Oh, I don't have that in front of me. Where do you see it right there?
2166.50 in expenses.
Did you want to see it?
And that
Yeah,
looks like a
no.
negative
Can I see that,
of your
Judge?
beginning balance. This, to me, it tells me that this is the monies that you have used.
That's probably, yeah, that's
far.
stones that they have bought that are gonna go up prior to the end of the fiscal year.
And some of that's tree work too, isn't it,
Yeah.
Jim? Some of that money.
Yeah,
Well-
I think there's 860 left.
Like he had said, the second list that I hand to you, the money on the right-hand side of those 10 cemeteries, that's for the stonework. That's not inclusive of the tree work
That's
that
for
they're gonna
next
be
year.
doing.
Right.
That's for next year.
Right, the 23.
That right there indicates, I know they bought at least 3 brand-new stones. So that would be almost 1,500. So that's out of, you know what I mean?
I want to
Two
read
of
it, please, okay?
Oh, yeah, I
Okay,
thought
can
you
I
were
read
through
it?
with it,
No.
because we got to make copies for everybody.
So I guess my other question is, on these 6 cemeteries that have trust funds on there,
There you go.
you can only use the interest. Will you be using some of that to do some of the tree work or whatever needs to be done on
within-
top of the 10,000 that you're
No,
requesting?
only within these 6. We'll be able to use that within these 6
Right.
cemeteries right here.
So
So it has nothing to do with.
none of the
ones-
10,000 will be for those?
No. The 10 I listed there, none of them are
Right.
in these here. And those are ones that have already gone in and cut all the brush out, you know what I mean? Removed stones, worked on stones and,
Now, do any of these 6 have to have any tree removal?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. But that will
That's gonna
obviously
go
come
quick.
out of,
Yeah.
Now, Jim, do you leave the stumps there after the trees?
That, what they're gonna do is they wanna try to get rid of the trees because their roots are just pushing the stones up everywhere, you know, and knock them out. So that's their first objective, is to get rid of the trees. And then after that, that's one of the long-term plans, is to try to figure a way to get the stumps out of there, because what they wanna do is mow them, you know? And in order to mow them, they're gonna have to get them out. There's some of these bull pines are unbelievable. There's a quarter of the size of this room, you know?
Do you think that they're gonna remove them completely or just stump grind them?
They'll probably,
Probably grind them, yeah.
Grind them
probably
below level,
grind
yeah.
them. But they're cutting them pretty low, you know? They say they can get them down like, you know,
Oh, yeah.
under 4 inches, and that's pretty good. And
Jim,
then we're gonna try to find someone to, over time, grind them and,
I misspoke, if you can imagine it. What Steve is asking for isn't 10,000 total, it's an additional 10,000.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I said it was 10,000, and I was wrong. So he'd have the 3,000, I assume, to continue the work on the stones, would be his plan with that $3,000.
on the next page.
And
Yeah, it calls out the extra tennis for tree
Yeah,
removal.
yeah, but isn't that 3,000,
Specifically.
Dennis, isn't that for the flags and markers?
it probably is, Jim.
Probably
Yeah,
is.
that's the only thing that can be used for.
For
Yeah.
It
veterans,
can't
yeah.
be used for,
Okay,
yeah, that's all that's used for,
all right.
is
So
that
it's-
3,000 flags and markers, and the only thing that can be taken out of that is that.
Yep.
you know?
So that is 13,000 that they would,
Total, yeah.
total, they would like.
But
Jim?
that 3,000 was in there last year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
So
the,
it's
that's the
just
consistent.
10,000 over,
right.
10,000 over.
Yeah.
In the writing from Steve here, it says he's asking for an additional 10.
Right,
Yeah.
that's
So I just want to make that clear to everybody.
not to do with the budget, but I was vice president of the Massachusetts Federated Garden Club, and we used to do some of this work. And one of the things when we would cut down trees, black paint on the trees, just whatever's there, just kill it with black paint.
You're kidding me.
No, and you won't find little shoots coming up, anything like that. It will,
Black paint right where you cut it off.
right on that wound, just spray it
You seal up the
and
cambium.
seal up.
You seal it up so that the cells around the
Yeah.
perimeter, which is most sensitive, are sealed, so they
Yeah,
can't
it seals it right
rejuvenate.
up. And, a
And it
case of
dies.
what?
It just dies.
It stops growing.
stops growing.
And then it rots.
And it rots. But, I can see where it could take a couple of years before you can get to grinding all these trees.
Yeah.
So it's just an FYI, it might be something useful.
If you go by Shapley's, I don't know if you notice this cemeteries, Mr. Rivard's taken care of them for years. You drive by every one of those, you can get in with a mower and mow all of them. The
Right.
stones are white. He's into his 80s now, so.
Right, right.
And I heard his health isn't that great.
Right,
But what he's done over there is pretty amazing,
yeah,
Pretty,
yeah. But seriously, some black paint, you're capping that, and until you can get to it and do the grinding, it's cheap
geez, I wish I
stuff.
didn't hear that. I got a willow tree that I'm having problems with, and I cut some of the limbs off and painted them with black paint last year. I probably just killed them.
Any other questions from anybody? For Jim?
Thank you.
Do you smell
Thank you
skunk?
very much.
Do you smell skunk?
not anymore.
No, I picked up another one tonight.
Oh, did you?
It is a key.
Yeah, no, I
I
don't.
can't get out of my mouth.
Jim, I thank you.
We
for
usually hear you
coming.
coming, but now we smelt you coming.
True. It's like once a month. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
There
you.
you go.
Thank you.
Jim, please pass along that, to the powers to be and the cemetery committee, that we appreciate all the work that they do.
I will. I'm gonna bring up that. Sign it, please. I think it's very good. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
Jim. The next one we're gonna do is Cornerstone. We have a gentleman here tonight, representing Cornerstone. Good evening.
Good evening.
just to give you a little history, we haven't had the people that we donate money to social services every year. We haven't asked them to come in and explain things. And other than me, everybody else on the committee is relatively new. Only been here a year or two. So this year they wanted to have people come in and give us some explanation of why we're donating. So I appreciate you coming tonight.
I appreciate the invitation. I'm David Emberly. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Cornerstone VNA. And as I say, I appreciate the invitation because I'm very proud of the work we do, and I enjoy the opportunity to talk about it, whether it be a committee or someone on the street, so that,
David, would you give me your last name again?
Emberly, E-M-B-E-R-L-E-Y.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, this actually is the 110th anniversary of Cornerstone VNA we're celebrating this year. So we've been around for a while. You know, if my memory, reading the history books is correct, it started about the time of World War I, where soldiers were coming back from the war, and there were nurses needed to attend to them, as well as to assist the towns and the people that had particularly difficult health situations. And we've grown over the years from then. For many years, we've received generous financial support from the town of Acton to help us offset the costs of providing care to residents. Typically, in a typical year, we're providing home care services, the largest one, also hospice and palliative care. And in the last year, we've introduced some new services, phlebotomy and lymphedema services, which are not compensated by insurance normally, so that we rely on donations for those. You know, our biggest struggle since the pandemic started has been finding and being able to hire nurses and other clinicians to do the work for us. We can only see as many patients as we have clinical staff to do the visits. And the majority of the visits we do right in people's homes. During the most recent year, Cornerstone VNA provided to the residents of Acton, we saw 39 patients and did 530 visits in their homes. As a nonprofit organization, the financial support we received helps us to allocate other income and resources to allow us to support professional development of our staff, attract and retain employees, and provide access to underfunded programs. And we've seen over the last several decades that this methodology works very well. We've been quite innovative in starting new programs, testing things out, finding out if there's a need in the community. I'm a finance person, so I don't know all the clinical end of things, but the stories I've heard, particularly of this lymphedema program, we find people that have been stuck at home with the swelling in the legs for years and years, and with our occupational therapists going out there and doing the massages and teaching them exercises to actually get the mobility back again, they're actually able to resume their life again, and it's just something that no one was out there doing it previously. So that's just one example of some of the programs we provide.
On your first paragraph, did you just say you service 39 Acton residents?
Yes, those numbers
Okay.
on that one were the prior year. So there's the numbers I suggested were for 2022.
That's on the second page, right?
Okay.
Generally speaking, I think over the last 5 years or so, the number of visits we've done has ranged from about 340 to, I think this 530 we did last year was the most we've done in a year.
Right.
It depends on the patient mix, of course. Because some just need a visit or two, some need ongoing care.
Do you people do like a part of the visiting nurses, or is that another?
Yes, we are a visiting nurse in a hospice, yes.
Okay.
But no, Joe, that's, what he's talking about is the visiting nurses, that organization.
Okay.
No, you're not part of visiting
No.
nurses?
No.
No, it's
We're
separate.
we're a nonprofit organization.
Hospice? But-
Hospice and Visiting Nurse Association. So
Okay,
we do
thanks.
visiting nurses as well, too. There are several visiting nurses organizations around. We're located in Rochester.
Okay.
We serve towns along the New Hampshire, Maine border, going from up north to Ossipee over here to Acton, and then down to the Yorks and along the New Hampshire seacoast.
What would be would a hip replacement, knee replacement, would that be under your review?
Yes, we have physical therapists that do the treatment for that as well, too, yes.
Joe, I can tell you,
All right.
2 knees for my husband and 1 hip for me, and we had Cornerstone.
Yeah. Because if you have that surgery, and again, I'm a finance person, but if you have that surgery and you don't do the therapy, you lose the mobility, so that's important.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear the new things, particularly on lymphedema. I have a sister who, her medical background doesn't matter, but her lymphedema is in her arms. For 15 years, she's had to wear compression garments. And she pays $75 a week to go to a masseuse who is trained in lymphedema massage, which isn't a massage as one would think.
Yeah, it's draining the fluids,
It's draining-
basically.
It's knowing where to push and draining the fluids from the thing. That's excellent to know. I shouldn't say any more because
Okay.
I know too much.
Going to your assets, you seem to have quite a bit of assets for an organization requesting money. Is there any reason for it? Do you have like certificates of deposit, Vanguard, Charter Trust, Edward Jones, Edward Jones, you know, everything in there, but is there any reason that you have that much money for assets?
We have about an $18 million annual budget, and so that provides us about 6 to 8 months of cushion. It also gives us the flexibility to try new programs. So for instance, last year, if I recall correctly, we finished the year with the result of operations about positive $46,000 out of an $18 million budget. And last year, the towns we served contributed $80,000. So without that $80,000, we would have actually had a loss in operations. So
You
we
get
pretty
any-
much break even from operations on a year-to-year basis. And last year, we had those investments, of course, like everyone, our investments lost money last year.
What about federal money? Do you get federal money for your?
During the COVID, we received substantial federal money, yes, and that was a help. Also, our largest insurance source is Medicare. It provides quite well for the patients.
Okay, so Medicare would cover you coming to, say, someone in Acton, as well as anything that Acton could contribute on top of that?
Yeah, if they're eligible for Medicare, that would cover the bill. I would say about 50% of our patients are on traditional Medicare. Probably another 25 are on Medicare Advantage, which are more of a managed care program, and then the rest is split between Medicaid, self-pay, and commercial insurance.
Now, do you ever refuse people because of the logistics of the insurance?
We don't refuse people based on their ability to pay or the coverage they have. The only time we would turn someone down, again, as I said earlier, is we don't have the clinicians to see them. Because if we can't give them good care, we wouldn't want to take them on. So that, that's the challenge we face right now. As a matter of fact, you would mention earlier about federal funds. We received significant funds during the COVID pandemic. But also during that time, labor costs skyrocketed, and we were having to pay bonuses to attract people, and we're competing with the hospitals and the nursing homes, and that's where most of that money went to pay bonuses to our clinical staff to retain them, and we still lost quite a few.
So when you have your services to a patient, say it was $1,000, then it would be billed to Medicare, and then you would be compensated within time $1,000, or would they prorate you and say, well, we're gonna give you $722 or something?
If it's traditional Medicare, they pay the amount, actually, they pay on an episodic basis, so they give us a certain amount of money for 30 days of care, then we manage the care within that. If it's Medicare Advantage program, they pay per visit fee for service, and that involves getting authorization, so they will call in, they'll say you can do 10 visits, we'll do the 10 visits, they'll pay for the 10.
So what I'm trying to determine is, are you basically an arm of the federal government health programs? In the sense that you're there hands-on, feet on the ground, whereas the federal government is over here with...
No, we're a nonprofit that one of our major paying sources is Medicare.
Okay.
But we're an independent nonprofit with our own board of directors.
501c, what would you be as a nonprofit?
I'm sorry, what was that
You're a
again?
501c,
501c3.
C3?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing, and it takes me a second or two to catch up sometimes.
It's okay, I am too.
What?
Anybody else?
That's my
Very
line, that's
good.
right, yes.
That was good.
I see on other receivables, you have a little over 2.5 million. What are those receivables?
That receivable actually is we applied, and you've probably heard a lot about this in the news, the employee retention credit, which pays us about $2,600 per employee. And we applied for back in 2021. Of that $2.5 million, we've received about $10,000 so far. It's been well over a year now. And I think part of the issue is a lot of people are applying for it now, some that aren't, maybe shouldn't be applying for it. So the IRS is being very slow about handing that money out, so that we've been waiting for over a year here now for that money. As a matter of fact, just this past year, we went through our annual audit, and our auditors suggested we take $800,000 out of that reserve as a potentially not getting it.
It's
because
really a
been over-
placeholder
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. So that was a one-time thing with, again, that came out of the pandemic.
And you applied that in 2021, applied for that in 2021?
Yes, and we recognized the revenue in 2021. In December of 2021.
This fiscal structure that you have in Farmington Road, is that, whereabouts is that?
We're just right on the border of Rochester and Farmington on Route 11. Yeah, I mean, if you could hit a golf ball from our property into Farmington. We're that close to the line.
Yeah, beyond Walmart and beyond?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah, so on that main,
If you know where all those RV dealerships are, we're right
Yeah.
behind those. Our driveway goes right through there.
now, are you right on the road, or are you in the back lot, or?
We're in the back lot. Out in front of us, there used to be the Lilac Pediatric, and our driveway went along their property, and our building's out behind that. That organization is closed down now, they're looking to lease that land out.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Anybody else? I just want to say, as usual, I always have something to say. This document that you sent forward to us, you did a great job explaining what you guys wanted and why you wanted it. And so I just want to say it's a good job.
But thank you. I'll pass that back to those in our, to put the document together.
They did a great job.
Thank you.
I believe anyway. And I guess if there's nothing else,
What was the total amount requested from the town?
I thought it was $1,958.
That's correct.
Has that increased since last year?
It's the same amount last year, maybe rounded up to the nearest dollar. I think it was 1957 and 50 cents last year. I'm
Yeah, I
not sure
don't-
how they got that
I don't
amount
think it
last year.
changes much, but
yeah.
it probably has something to do with some documentation the federal government sent you. And,
I mean, you had 39 patients, I mean, is that part of the equation, is 39 times?
Well, from year to year, if the numbers don't change dramatically, we generally ask for level funding because we know that's easiest budget-wise. You know, if all of a sudden we weren't seeing many patients or we cut back services, we'd adjust that amount. But otherwise, we generally from year to year ask
And
level
if
funding.
you had an increase, you'd increase it as well.
If
you had like 40.
it was a trending that way, again, it goes up and down from year to year, but if we saw like 4 or 5 years in a row, it was going up 100 or so visits every year, that would be a different situation.
Maria, I just rounded things up, Margarita, I just rounded things up, and I saw you were doing it. I got, on average, we're talking about $50 a person. What did you come up with using the real numbers?
Just about the
Be
same,
about
yeah.
About the same.
50 times 40 is 2,000.
You know, about $50 a person.
No, the only town that you mentioned in the state of Maine, I believe, was Acton. Is there any other town?
Sit down to the Yorks, too.
Down to
Yes,
York.
all the way
Oh, York.
down to the Berwicks and Sanford. We've cut back in Sanford a little bit recently, only because we're having a hard time hiring clinicians out there, so we only have one nurse out there now. But the Berwicks, down to the Yorks,
But I assume a lot of that's
Elliott.
controlled by everything else in healthcare. It depends on what you got for help, how much you can go out, and how far you can go. And I know that is really strained at this point in the healthcare world.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. We're not alone in that. If you're in healthcare, finding employees is the hard thing to do.
And people are always reaching out and trying to grab them from you, so.
Well, you know, we had a nurse who does a lot of work for us, who is been with us over 30 years now. And we're thinking if we lose her, because she does a lot of the clinics and blood pressure and vaccinations, that'd be a hard person to replace. But fortunately, we've had her for over 30 years.
But they're trying to steal them. There's no doubt about that. Well, I thank you, sir.
I thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and meet you all and talk about Cornerstone VNA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have
very
a safe
much.
trip home. I talked to Jen today. The Red Cross hasn't had any luck, I guess, finding somebody. They're pretty busy, and they haven't had any luck finding someone that really has the time to come and talk with us, which is, well, everybody's busy, especially in this, with all the different problems we've had down south lately.
Do you want me to read through their summary of what they're asking for, or no?
Go ahead, if you want. Why
I didn't
not?
know if you wanted that
They're
for.
not planning on coming.
Okay.
Is I guess my point. So if you want to publicly do that, sure, that'd be great, Margarita.
That's, yeah, okay.
I appreciate that.
So from the American Red Cross, as we look ahead to the new year, we take a moment to reflect on our profound gratitude to the municipal partners who help us deliver our life-saving mission in our community. And with your support, we are able to ensure the health, safety, and preparedness of our friends and neighbors throughout northern New England. Last year, our staff and volunteer workforce provided an array of services throughout the region. We made 576 homes safer by installing smoke detectors and educating families about fire prevention and prevention through our home fire campaign. We trained 34,765 people in first aid, CPR, and water safety skills. We collected over 132,000 units of blood. Hospitals throughout northern New England depend on the American Red Cross for these collections. And in our region, over 3,900 service members, veterans, and their families received supportive services through our Service to the Armed Forces Department. Your American Red Cross remains committed to providing relief and support, and we do this with the help of our incredible volunteers and donors, including you, our friends in Acton. This year, we respectfully request a municipal appropriation of $500. These funds will directly benefit individuals and families right here in our region who benefit from our unique services at no cost. There you have it.
Thank you, Marguerite. And I might have this backwards. I believe it was talking to Jen today that, the Kids Free to Grow, they had a conflict, and so they couldn't come this week, but they'd be willing to come next week. So the only other one we have is the, and maybe that's the one, I think it is the Caring Unlimited. So if you, did you want to do the same thing with that, Margaret?
Oh, he's here.
Oh, Daniel, I apologize. I'm glad you spoke up. As you know, I always say everybody's more than welcome to speak up. I didn't realize that.
So my name is Daniel Norwood. I am the youth educator at Caring Unlimited. And first off, we just want to thank you and the town of Acton for considering our request for $801. So for those of you who may not know, Caring Unlimited is York County's Domestic Violence Resource Center. So basically what we do is we help anybody within the York County area who's experiencing any type of intimate partner violence or domestic violence. And the way that we help people is that we provide services, all of which are free of charge, which means anyone who utilizes services will not be charged for any of them. And they come in 3 tiers. We have the primary services, which is prevention education. So as a youth educator, I go and I work with students from grade 6 to 12, having conversations with them about dating abuse and healthy and unhealthy behaviors in relationships. We also partner with like York County Community College and mental health professionals as a way to try to prevent dating abuse by educating people about the signs. So those are the tertiary services that we provide. We have secondary services, which are services that come into play immediately after an incident takes place. So we have our helpline, which is a 24-hour, 7 days a week service, which advocates serve on that helpline. People can call, whether it's because maybe they no longer feel safe in their home or because maybe they're in a relationship where they think they're being harmed, but they need somebody to process that with. We also have our outreach program, which if somebody no longer feels safe in their home, they provide things such as being able to change locks on the doors, cameras, or anything to make the home feel more safe. And then we have our tertiary services such as support groups for people who have gotten out of their relationships, but they need a group with people who understand what they've gone through. We also have childcare services. We have people who come in to our shelter and then they go to our transitional housing, which is a 2-year service where they can live in our apartments. We have 11 apartments on our campus, I guess you would call it. People live there for up to 2 years, and during that process, we help them get back on their feet. Sometimes, whether it's going back to school, getting jobs, helping them build relationships back up with their kids.
Wow.
So those are just some of the services that we provide. And I believe you should have a list, but for Acton last year, there were 9 individuals from Acton that we helped in any of those capacities.
Say 9?
9 individuals. There was
Second page.
83 hours of individual advocacy, so people working to help them. And the total cost of the services provided would have been $9,353.20. But again, nobody was charged with those services, and those don't include the hours of, I actually went to the Acton Elementary grades classes 6th, 7th, and 8th and gave presentations to those students about healthy and unhealthy behaviors as well.
I was gonna ask if you, I know you said you work with youth, I didn't know if it was them coming to you or if you do presentations in school. So you do presentations?
Yep, school-based education is our primary service right now, but this past year we've been kind of branching out a little bit more, like doing work with libraries, hoping to do some work with some rec programs during the summer and kind of get the different avenues of working with children.
So you've been reaching out to the schools to try to incorporate this into the school?
Yep, so our presentations are designed to meet a lot of those like health requirements. that teachers have. We looked at the list, and we want to be an asset to what teachers are already doing, enhancing their programs that they already have when it comes to relationships. But like in Acton, I work with Christy Hall because she goes in the classes, I think every Wednesday she has time with the students, so we just schedule our presentations in with those classes since Acton doesn't have that health aspect.
So you do that with her?
No, she has me come in and present during her time slot that she would usually have with the students.
Okay, yeah.
And you guys are all throughout York County?
All throughout York County.
Are you just York County?
Yep, so every county in the state of Maine, and every other state has a domestic violence resource center,
Okay.
that works with them, so like.
Is it all called Caring Unlimited?
Nope, so, for example, in Cumberland County, it would be Through These Doors. Penobscot County, it is, Partners for Peace. So they're all like sister organizations under one umbrella, which is the main coalition to end domestic violence.
Oh, okay.
You got quite a bit of money from federal and state grants, over $1.5 million.
That is our entire budget, because this, DVRCs were created through the Violence Against Women Act, is where a lot of that funding comes from. So that's all our funding is through grants.
That's your initial funding, so that any money that Acton would contribute would be additional for the particular people involved.
Yeah, it would be to help anybody who from this town might need our services. And it also allows us to expand our programming. I'm relatively new to Caring Unlimited, but I know that the budget that if you're looking at that, has not been that large ever. Many years, like when the organization first started, it was like very, very paper thin margins that they were working with.
How many employees are down at the physical plant in Sanford?
At our location, we have 25 employees, I believe. And we are looking into options of having an office space in Biddeford, mainly because our lawyers and our legal advocates who do a lot of work, they always have to go down there for court. And now that the courts are kind of joining and they're going to have that one courthouse in Biddeford, we're hoping to give them a central office that's closer to the courts, and also potentially allow us to do more support groups in that area and other services.
What you're asking for, Daniel, is, and again, obviously there's some formula, $801. And this needs to be out there. What was spent on Acton residents last year was $9,353.20. And like you said, you service 9 individuals, but those individuals, couldn't that also be a family as part of that?
It's, so when we work with somebody, like, we're an advocate with that person, so yes, it would impact the family. We may not be working directly with it, but the impact of the work that we do.
Right, so it could very easily be, obviously, without getting into details, it may very well might be actually 7 individuals and 2 families. As individuals, is what I'm saying, or it could be 9 families, I mean.
Yeah.
So I just want the word individual, I believe, and what you're agreeing to, is really misleading.
It's more
I could
like-
have 4 kids. And
Right.
I could be the individual that
Right.
called.
Exactly.
And now you've helped a family of 5.
Right, it's cases.
Yes.
9 cases.
Yeah.
Of help going out, could be, you know,
I guess that's just what I wanted
We
to,
want a better impact. We want a sound.
right,
I want to
Yeah.
make it clear to everybody.
Yes.
right,
Yes.
yeah.
Not 9 people you helped, 9
Right,
cases.
he didn't come see me
9
9
cases.
times.
Right. It wouldn't have worked anyway,
Maybe the 10th then.
The 10th, maybe, one more,
the 10th,
one more time.
right.
Can you give me an example of, when you go into acting, because you were talking about, domestic violence and whatnot, and dating, I don't know, kids these days are dating at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade or whatever that, I don't know what's going on, I don't have any kids. What type of, program do you present to these kids?
So the way our presentations go is that our ideal school system is to have them students beginning in 6th grade and working up to high school. The 6th grade presentation that we do is just fundamentals about what are healthy behaviors in any relationship, whether it's between friends, whether it's intimate partners, or even between siblings and parents. Because we know at 6th grade, many students aren't looking at like intimate partner relationships, dating, but many times as adults, we don't think to ask kids what they want, or what the expectations are, because we always look at kids as kids. So the idea is that we want students to start thinking like, what should your relationships be? Are you going to want a friend who is going to laugh at you when you cry because you hurt yourself? Or are you going to want a sibling who you can't trust because they lie to you? And so we have those discussions about what is a good relationship. And then when we get into 7th grade, we kind of have more of a discussion about where domestic violence and dating abuse comes from. And it comes from a belief system. So we talk about how is this belief system developed and how does this shown in the relationships, and that leads to a little bit of discussion about power and control. And then in 8th grade, we get more specific to dating abuse, specifically teen dating. And we go over power and control and those unhealthy behaviors that you might see and give examples of what you might see in a relationship.
It's critical work. Critical work.
Absolutely.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Phil,
Sure.
you have something?
No, I'm just taking it all in. That's very good.
Hold on a
Tom.
minute, Dan.
Thank you.
Hang on, Dan,
Hang on, hang on.
hang on.
I ain't
Nice try.
I'm not letting you off the hook yet. You know me better than that. Margarita, you all set? Joe,
Yes, I'm all set.
Joyce?
I'm all set.
Just that the services are great that you provide.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Like, we have such amazing staff and they're all like really well placed. So we have a child support specialist. Sometimes what we see in relationships where this is taking place, you might see a parent who tells the other parent that they're a bad parent, and it frays the relationship that they have with their kids. So when they come to us, we have this person who specifically works on helping those parents, mostly it's mothers, redevelop that relationship with their kids, because they either stayed away from them because they're told they're bad parents, or they stayed away from them because they didn't want their partner's anger to be directed towards their kids. So something like that you don't think about, like something as simple as doing a game night. When I first started working at Caring Unlimited this past year and I went to some of those game nights, it was just crazy on how impactful it was to see those mothers and those kids working together and having fun, because they didn't have that when they were in a household where there was domestic violence.
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of abuse, right? Some more subtle than others.
Yeah.
Physical, mental, psychological.
And the scary
Emotional.
thing is 6th graders are dating now. 6th graders have boyfriends and girlfriends now,
I had
which is,
I got my first kiss when I was in 6th grade.
whoa, we'll talk
That's about
later.
as far as it went, okay? Nowadays, who knows?
I had a presentation at a school, and a couple months after I presented, the health teacher reached out to me and told me that one of her students had come up to her and told her that following my presentation, she had a discussion with her boyfriend and said that she didn't think that the relationship was healthy. And so they broke up. It took that conversation. And I say that I'm a product of Caring Unlimited. Caring Unlimited used to have like an extracurricular group in high school called Young Adults Against Dating Abuse. I was a member of that program, which is how I got into this line of work.
Daniel, I have to say that I've known a few people over the years that has needed this service. And we could probably go another half hour on other things that they do for people. And the amount of money that we're donating to this outfit is nothing compared to the value. And I want to thank you, and please pass that on to the organization, that we appreciate it. And the amount of money that you're asking for is really minimal. And myself personally, and I think I'm speaking for the committee, this will be supported by the Warrant and Finance Committee and the town of Acton, I would imagine. It always has been. You did a good job tonight, I thank you.
I just wonder why 801?
So those numbers were set, I believe, by
formula.
DHHS. I don't know how, but that's what I was told, if that was asked, like how we came with that number. Something about how DHHS set their numbers.
Another thing that you don't know, really nobody knows right now, but I'm gonna say it,
Don't tell us.
is what you did tonight is you said I was right. I said Kids Free to Grow would be next week, and it wasn't Caring Unlimited, so thank you for making that point tonight, I appreciate it.
I didn't even know I made that point.
Well, I
He'll
listen to
take what he
everything.
can get.
I'll take what I can get, doesn't come that often.
Thanks for what you do. I know sometimes it's very hard work because you hear stories that you might not want to hear, and that always weighs on people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah.
You can
Thank
leave
you.
now.
Supporting us.
Good night.
You don't have to leave, you can still stay.
There you go.
Just you don't have to stay at the
What
table.
does this FB?
If we wanted to do that, then.
Use of FD.
No, they want to come next
Oh,
week.
they do want to come?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it's not Facebook.
That's what my first thought.
Free to Grow will come next.
Well, that's what most people.
Yeah, so now we'll go to old business, and at our last meeting, I said that, we had some questions, about the road department. One was, off the top of my head, was what the extra $20,000 they wanted for each of them in the summer budget. And Will had said, they'd write that up and get back to us on that. But anyway, I said at the last meeting that I would send Jen the questions. And then thinking about it, I was gonna wait because the questions that I had were what I remembered, and I'd rather have the committee tonight come up with that list of questions. And I think most of them would really be directed towards the Board of Selectmen, because they've already met with the road commissioners last week and pretty much come to some agreement on their budgets. I mean, the questions can be directed to both, I mean, but I just wanted the questions, make sure we got them right, so that we only had to do it once. And then what I'll do is I'll send them out to Jen tomorrow. So I know the one was on the $20,000 for each department. I remember that another concern we had was down at the tractor shed. We'd increased the budget to have the roof done, and the roof's done, but the $11,000 is still in next year's budget. And is that gonna be reduced? If they're gonna spend the $11,000, and I have no idea what it would be, I believe that we'd like to see something in what we're gonna get for the $11,000. You know? The other question that I remember we asked the road commissioners was the $5,000 on the flat ground road. And I made the statement that a year ago, Joe Lankowski our land use attorney, said that that shouldn't be in the budget separate because the town has to maintain it if it costs $100,000, just like do any other town road. Unless they're planning a special project, which is how they're talking about doing the warrant articles this year, you know what I mean? They'd have a $250,000 and it'd be listed out what this $250,000 special project, or however you want to word it. Those are my words, not theirs. So those are the three questions that I remembered that we had, which we don't have the answers to. So what I would like to see from the committee, is there any other ones that would like to have any answers to? I mean, we've all had plenty of time to
That
look
was
at
all I
the
can
road
remember.
budgets. What's that?
That's all I can remember us specifically asking about.
Those three issues.
Yeah, we can't specify money to a specific road unless it's a special project. And then the money for the building, which I think they had mentioned other projects and expansions and additions or whatever it was, but that was one of the questions. So I don't remember anything else specific about it.
I know I sent the question about the flat ground road,
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
and I think the response was the selectmen hadn't made a decision yet. So,
But,
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Background. This is money that would be spent to re-gravel?
no,
No?
It's general maintenance,
just for general maintenance,
General maintenance being
plowing.
just like any other grading, plowing, cutting
plowing
brush,
snow?
cutting brush.
No, but not plowing snow, though.
what?
Yeah, just like the H road,
Or same
So,
page?
but how can you separate plowing snow on the flat ground as opposed to just plowing snow?
That's the point. Right now, the money is specified for flat ground, and it, according to that, it shouldn't be. It should just be part of regular road maintenance.
right, just like
And
any
for
other
some
road.
reason, it's been separated out. So
Okay.
the question he asked was, it needs to be put back into regular road maintenance.
Okay. Does that flat ground need to be regraded every year? Like a,
Every dirt road normally, and I'm not a road
Yeah.
commissioner, but normally, historically, every dirt road is graded in the spring and in the fall.
yeah. And in this particular case with flat ground, is it graded as well as rolled with a roller to roll in that new grade?
All I can say is last year, Joe, they graded it, and that's all,
That's what they-
that was it.
Okay.
So I guess that really is the issue, is it doesn't, each one of these don't seem like really that much money, but if you take the 5,000 on the flat ground road, that's in addition to the maintenance budget, and say 10,000 down to the tractor shed, and 20,000 to each summer maintenance budget,
You're at 35,000.
well, 55.
55.
20, 20, and
20 and
5 and 10.
Oh, 20 and 20, yes, excuse me.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked that, and it would have something to do with this if they decide to do this, Tom had mentioned at the budget meeting last week with the roads, that, as we all know, the roads, winter maintenance is always getting overspent every year. So what Tom's suggestion was, which I think is a good idea, is that we increase the dollar amount for the winter maintenance to be more of an average of what we've been spending over the last 3 years or 5 years or whatever that. And then have a separate warrant article for contingency in case we did have an abnormal winter and we went over that, we wouldn't have to bring it back to a special town meeting. And if we didn't use it, it just stayed there. And there's another place that we're already doing this. If you all remember, we have a warrant article, I think it's for $15,000, that we have for unexpected issues that come up. And I think a couple of years ago, we utilized that when the furnace went over the fire station. And the last time we used it, before that was when we bought that fire truck, that secondhand fire truck back in 2010 or whatever, to get us by. So in 10, 12 years, we've only used it those 2 times. But I think what Tom wants to do with this warrant article is a good idea. And it's just, to me, good accounting. I don't know what the selectmen will do with it, but I just wanted to bring that out there. So is everybody satisfied with just those 3 questions? You don't see any more?
It's not the roads, but one thing that I was looking at was, seemed like an awful lot of money for the electricity on the old firehouse, the gym, as it's
Yeah.
called.
Well, I guess,
I mean, I know electricity is going up,
right.
but an $11,000 line on a building that,
I think that was a miss,
Typo?
yeah.
Maybe like 1,100.
No,
Uh,
thousand.
it was
Yeah,
1,000.
but
That's what he's saying.
If we're
He-
looking
he
at
was saying
the,
it might
But,
have been a
well, I
typo.
see what you're saying, very good
Could be
point.
1,100.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really think that was just
Yeah.
something that I would do on the computer.
That's a fat finger.
Yeah.
fat finger, I like that term.
And either it's a fat finger, or I didn't have my glasses on.
Or both.
kind of like the Board of Education for Maine, that they input wrong information and now they're figured out they found it. So a lot of, they got like, what, $43 million they can now.
No,
hand out to
Acton's
the
not
schools.
getting any of it, though, you know.
But still, I mean, looking at the mistake that they did.
It was a mistake.
But I will say, I see some schools, especially bigger school districts, with this mistake, they're not gonna have to cut back like they would.
Like they thought they were, right? Teachers won't be losing their jobs.
So what I'll do is I'll forward these 3 questions. Everybody's satisfied with the information we've gotten so far on the social services. And next week, it'll probably be a little bit longer because what we have on the schedule.
Do we vote on these or not vote on
No.
these?
No.
No?
No voting tonight.
Okay.
Information gathering.
Yeah, that's all we're doing, and next week, we should be able to finalize our schedule. If we don't know yet what the selectmen are gonna do with this 100,000 that the school's looking for, to replenish their capital improvement account, from fixing the roof this year. So we don't know that yet, and
May I ask you a question? Why didn't they just request $70,000 for the roof, straight out? They can't do it?
they might,
You know what I mean, just make a special
that's
offer?
between them and the selectmen, Joe, how they wanna do it.
Okay, but I mean, wouldn't that make more sense? They need 70,000 for the roof?
If it's,
Rather than
if
taking-
that's the cost of the roof, then, I
Out of
guess,
our hands.
I guess it's kinda like the Article 43 that the town has for the help people on private roads, is at some point, we've been spending out of it since it was set up, we need to replenish that $50,000 that was originally there, because every year we spend 3, 4, 5, 6,000, whatever out of it. And could be exactly the way they wanna do it, Joe, that's something, negotiations between them and the selectmen. Some people think it ought to come out of the school account, some people think it ought to come out of the municipal account.
Well, that's, I mean, that's what essentially, they proposed that out of their emergency fund. Remember, they didn't have any money at all, and I proposed it, and you increased it. And I would think that they'd just leave that there for something for
Yeah.
the rainy day problems, you know?
Whatever they decide to work out, it's all our money.
Yeah.
No matter where they take it from. And Margarita, in tribute to you, I would like to see you make a motion, because it's only 7:18.
Whoa, that's a record. Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Thank you,
I'm
everybody.
so proud.
It'll probably be the only time.
Oh, that's fine.